Shopper Freaks, it's Bridger Hart
and Carson Hart,
co-founders of Hoppn.
We're pitching Infinite Color Search, our Shopify app that allows customers to shop for any specific color.
For decades, shoppers have been stuck with generic color filters like yellow, green, and blue.
A blue color filter can show anything from a light baby blue to a navy blue to a greenish blue or even a more greenish blue.
Actually, let's put this in the green filter.
Color filters are clunky and do little to narrow your search.
With Infinite Color Search, shoppers can pinpoint any specific color and instantly find the closest match within your website.
For this to work, we extract the exact colors directly from your images, and it's fully automated.
These accurate samples unlock new abilities, like multicolor search, a game changer for the industry. But what industry?
Color is universal to the shopping experience. It's critical for fashion, interior design, art, photography, and materials.
As a brand, you get real-time insights into the exact color shoppers are looking to buy. This data helps inspire new colorways that you can add to your collection.
You can install our patent detect in minutes on any Shopify theme, and no coding is necessary.
We're in conversation with some of the largest brands on the planet to license our technology.
With one app, you can align your brand with innovation and drive traffic to your site, whether that's through social media or a live in-store demo.
To learn more,
visit hoppn.com.
Welcome to the very first episode of 90-Second Pitches. I'm thrilled to have Carson and Bridger, the two of the co-founders of Hoppn, the creators of Infinite Color Search. I've actually been talking to these guys for almost a year now. Tried to invest in their company. They rightfully value it pretty high. You probably will too by the time you see what they've got going on today. Truly impressive software. I told them, I think when they emailed me about a year ago, this is one of the most impressive things to land on my desk in the 4 years that I've been doing Shopper Freaks. I meant that then. I still mean it today. And so I'm really excited to kick off this 90-second pitches series with these guys. How are y'all doing? Thanks for coming.
Doing great. Thanks, Paul. It's been awesome to be able to show you this very early on and for this to be able to progress to the point where now we're on the show.
Yeah, super excited.
Yeah, they've been a big help too in helping craft this whole series. Again, this is the first episode. We've gone through a lot of iterations of the concept, the idea, and they've not only played a big role in doing the first pitch and getting us started, but they've also been a big help in kind of crafting the whole series and the concept and the direction of it and stuff like that. So I'm really grateful. But again, more excited than grateful to show you guys, everyone watching, what they got going on. So let's start with the product demo. You can see it in action. You just saw the pitch. Now let's dive a little bit into what it actually looks like if you're using the product.
Great.
Cool. So this right here is what we call Infinite Color Search. And it is a much more visual approach to color discovery online. So as you can see, we have this wheel. And within this wheel, you can select any single nuanced color that exists. And what's really exciting about this approach is color is incredibly difficult to manage. It's hard to put color into words. And so what we're doing here is we're actually sorting every single product within a website's catalog from most to least accurate. And so this is a color first approach that eliminates all use of words. And as you can see, it's incredibly accurate. The way that this works as you're selecting any nuanced color is we'll show you the most accurate match right at the top. And as you scroll down, it'll start to vary in hue, saturation, lightness. So even if it's not a perfect match, what you're going to notice is that all the products are really nicely merchandised alongside each other.
So I work on the algorithms behind the search. And one thing to understand about color is it's really a three-dimensional data point. And so you can think of color as you got this chromaticity plane. You have the blue to yellow axis, and then the red to green axis. And as you go up, it gets lighter, and down, it gets darker. You can plot any specific product color within that 3D space. And so our algorithm is much different from the traditional way of bucketing products by color in these really generic names like green and blue. This allows you to actually pinpoint any specific color within color space. And so the way the algorithm works is because it's distance based. If you were to, let's say I pinpoint this greenish brown kind of color, you could see how it's going to surface the best matches directly at the top right away, even though there's over 5,000 products. As you scroll down the page, it does get progressively less accurate in all directions. And so you don't end up with these dead ends that are traditionally associated with filtering down to very specific queries. Here, it actually just naturally ventures into other harmonious colors, other analogous colors. And that visual merchandising algorithm has helped brands to increase sales and also increase their checkout size. And so one of the biggest clients we have is Body Glove, and we increased their checkout size by 1.6 times using this merchandising algorithm.
And so what you're
Effectively,
seeing right,
because it's getting easier to find the products. The search improves, people buy more stuff.
Yeah, exactly. And you're seeing things curated alongside each other that normally would be completely spread out across the site. So, for instance, you can actually search multiple colors at the same time. Let's say you search, red and blue, or red and black, red and white. You can combine different colors, and it's going to pull products across a variety of different brands. Well, assuming this is on a site that has multiple brands, it's really built for any Shopify store right now. But if you were to search, say, black and yellow, and you have a shirt from one brand and a pair of shorts from another brand, um, it it can pull together these outfit sets that are would normally be very hard to find. So you could see there at the black and yellow, and you can see how fun this is to use. Like, Carson's been just clicking around. You could do this all day long because there's literally quadrillions of unique combinations.
Mhm.
Imagine the difference. So if you found that shirt that you like, right? And you're like, okay, I want to pair this outfit. I want to match this with shoes and a shirt. The process that you'd have to go through as a shopper is, okay, I found this shirt. Now I'm going to go to the shoe collection and search for shoes. I hope that the company tagged the shoe yellow and black correctly. Now I'm going to
Yeah.
go into the pants department and try to find this. Whereas this, like you said, just if matching colors is important to you, obviously contrast matters too with fashion. But if you're looking for things that go together, I don't know of another tool on the market that does anything near what Infinite Color Search does.
Yeah. No, it's the first of its kind, and what's cool about this is it really spans so many different industries. We're looking at fashion right now, but we're also big in the home decor space. Even photography sites find a lot of value in this. Click on share this tab. Oh, yeah. So, for instance, you can if you're trying to fill out a room in your house and you need an art piece that's going to complement the pillows on your couch, or any kind of people really strongly relate to the need for specific colors when it comes to interior design, because you're not just looking for any shade of blue. You need a specific kind of dark greenish blue for a specific room.
So just to clarify, so you were showing us a demo before. That was the demo on your own site. This is live on a real client site who sells
Exactly.
photography
Yeah.
prints.
Yeah. So this is Bo Bridges. He's a famous photographer, and here you could see his entire catalog in here, where you could search by color.
So if you'll notice too, I just want to point out that the search color sits on that widget in the bottom right corner of the screen. Obviously, you can move it around, I believe, to different places and customize the look of it. But it kind of works as a layer on top of the website, right?
Yeah, so we're after the simplest possible integration so we can just land and expand quickly, bring this to more stores. And so we have different integration options. The widget just floats on top of the site, and that's fully customizable. You can upload your own graphic, change the color, change the size, position, all of that. But you can also just hide the widget entirely, and you can link to the experience from your header, for instance. So it's very common for stores to have a dedicated shop by color page. You often see those in the header of a website. And now you can just skip the work of actually building out and merchandising that page, because you could just add a shop by color text to your header that links directly to this experience. And then we can immediately allow people to start searching by specific colors.
That's awesome. How long does it take to get rolling with this? If I was a new store, I was interested, I installed the app. How long before the app is up and running on my own site?
The process of integrating only takes a few minutes. We fully automate the color tagging process for all of the product images. And so we built out this AI system. We have a data scientist on the team. And so we're able to identify the exact product within the photograph and extract only those colors. And so it doesn't matter if there's a model wearing the shirt or if there's an environment background, it's going to exclude all that and just extract the accurate color pixel values. And that captures a much more nuanced palette because it captures um, a whole plethora of weighted color values that's all used in the system. And so if you're a store that, let's say you have 1,000 products, we can process that in about a half hour. So it's just the initial product import, which is typical of any search company. But beyond that, adding it to your site, integrating it is all super easy.
And to point out too, because I've developed stores, I've tested multiple AI search tools, including Shopify's own, you know, was it semantic search, and it's never perfect, obviously. And a big challenge is just the setup time when I'm going through that. I find myself going through and adding what synonyms of certain words. Well, I've got coats, but you could also search jackets. You could also search hoodies. We call this a sweater, but it has a hoodie. And so you don't have to deal with all that when you're doing just search. Obviously, what you guys don't do is product search. You know what I mean? You're going to bring all the products together, but that's what you're doing. That's the value of searching across all the different collections, is bringing up the color. You don't have to go through the whole setup of like, well, let me think of what is this Google AdWords 2005. Let me think of every single synonym and plural version of the word. Because that's what we do for a lot of these stuff. So look, I want to dive into the tech a little bit more, but I wanted to first learn about you guys, your background. I do understand you grew up playing with boxes of Crayola crayons, and this is how you got here. So no, but really, like, tell a little bit about your background and kind of how you got to a point where you even discovered that this is something you wanted to build.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So we're brothers, and we grew up in the same house, and a very artistic family overall.
Yeah. So both of our parents were artists. We just grew up in a very creative household, and uh, we were given the tools to express ourselves creatively. I think very early on, Bridger and I um, recognized each other's own skill sets and found ways to collaborate. A lot of it started, I would say, through photography, just experimenting with photo shoots and lighting, and color plays a really big role in that as well. And so early on through that, we kind of developed our love for color. I think growing up in Southern California, where it's naturally sunny, it brings out the vibrancy of your environment, and I think that's helped shape our role early on. But also through photography and Bridger's work and in video, we deal with color spaces a lot. Like that's a big part of the process with the editing, is actually looking how do you modify this image to create the look that you're going for. And a lot of it comes down to color theory. And so, just learning from each other, it was a very collaborative process.
I had been really studying color for ever since I was a kid, because I've had a very long film and cinematography background, and I took an interest in all the different color grading tools available to me at the time. I used to create digital to film emulation presets, so I would mirror the color transformations of Kodachrome photography, for instance, and so I took a very like nerdy approach to color early on, and that experience has translated to developing these algorithms.
Is that like with the videos you see on TikTok where they make jokes about how in Mexico you show this color grade, in India you show this color grade, and it's always like the yellow for Mexico, and then you go there and you're like, wow, this is bright blue and beautiful. But is that the kind of stuff you did for the digital side?
But yeah, so there's a lot of nuance behind how warm you when you shoot films, you color balance it, so you end up with this accurate representation of color, and then there's the color grading process. That's where the artistic side comes out, and so that's where your tone mapping and pushing and pulling contrast in different areas, and it's an endless skill. You can never stop learning in that area.
You guys studied color theory, engineering in school, or what was your degrees?
So I studied at the University of Michigan. I was an art and design major, And I focused in photography and graphic design for the most part. Also a little bit of UI UX design. I also minored in entrepreneurship. And so, from an early on age, our dad was an entrepreneur. And as soon as I learned what that meant, like I knew that was a path that I wanted to take. And so it was really cool to have the tools at that school in the program to just kind of kickstart my interest in entrepreneurship.
So I didn't go to college, but I've always been really obsessed with learning. I just do it on my own time. And right out of high school, I started working at Corridor Digital, which is a really popular YouTube channel. I was doing mainly editing and visual effects work for them. And so, again, with the technical background, it's always been interesting to me.
Okay, so this was all. Where did Hoppn and Infinite Color Search come into your careers or education? At what point did it come into the pie?
So when we were starting this company, we met Umberto Morales. He's our third co-founder and our chief technology officer, and so he brings a lot of experience in this industry from a tech engineering side. And so we had this team. We started building. What drew us to this space is the potential to help people surface their products much better. So really on the search and discovery side, we got our start by launching our own marketplace. It was an aggregator of Shopify stores, and so it's this one-stop shop. This was all pre-TikTok shop, pre-Instagram shop. It was really kind of ahead of the trend. And through that, we pioneered different methods of search and discovery. That's where the original concept of the color wheel came into play. And so at the time, it was different because it was very manual. We would have to go through the entire product catalog, manually select colors to represent each product. So it was somewhat similar to how other systems of color matching worked, only it was way more accurate. But we did file a patent for that at the time. And so now that's officially published. It's been expanded upon. And what happened with this AI boom is it really became possible for us to, in an affordable way, build out a system of automating the color tagging process. And I mean, this is something that took over a year to fully develop and get it to the point where it can work on the 5+ industries that we cover: home decor, fashion, all of that. And so we realized that it's much better to just concentrate all of our resources into doing one thing exceptionally well than to try and spread ourselves thin, running an entire marketplace. And we were kind of gatekeeping this really cool color search tech just to our website. And as we talked to more brands, we realized this is technology that they could benefit from and that they should have on their own website as well, because people still love to shop on those sites. And so we kind of flipped the business around, turned it into B2B SaaS. And now our goal is to partner with all of the major stores across the internet and be really the premier color search company, which is kind of a whole new thing.
What was the aha moment, though, with the actual color wheel in terms of progression of the idea? Was it, okay, we've got this marketplace. I want to be able to search with a color wheel. Was that the original idea? Or was the original idea, we need a better system of tagging these colors, and then the color wheel came as a solution, a reasonable solution to what you've already created in terms of the tagging system?
So before the internet, people would go into a physical store. You'd be able to see 1,000 products in your field of view. Oftentimes, you can pack all those products in a single room, and that's super different from how e-commerce works. With a website, you can fit maybe 4 to 8 products on screen at any given time before it starts to get overwhelming. And so early on in the history of e-com, people started to invent new ways to search and filter across all that data so that shoppers can find exactly what they want without having to go to page 20. And so if you look at all the most prevalent filters across e-commerce, time and time again, you'll see color filters. They're everywhere. And even big sites like Nike, they put their color filter above their price filter and above their size filter. So it's very important to a lot of businesses. It is how people navigate and shop sites. And you would think that it being so prevalent that it would be working well, but actually no one really fully understands how color works and the complexity of it. and there hasn't been a way to handle it well until now. And so, um, for instance, when you think about a list of color names like yellow, green, and blue, it sounds like, clear cut, but it's really not. Most of the products that we shop are much more nuanced. Uh, th- every single color blends to the next. So, like, when does green end and blue begin? Um, as brands go through their catalog and they tag all their products by color, they have to make these subjective calls on which category they should go in. Um, and there's so many edge cases to color. Like, if you take the color orange and you darken it, eventually it becomes brown. If you take yellow and you darken yellow, eventually it becomes kind of an olivey green. And so
with,
no one
with
can
like 6 colors in between, right? Like along the way between orange and brown, there's like auburn, I guess, and a bunch of others too. That do I make a tag for it or not?
Yeah, so brands, they have to decide ahead of time how many color filters do they want to include. Do they want to have an overarching filter for blue, or do they want to have a light blue filter, a dark blue filter? And if they want to add like a turquoise filter in the future, now they have to go through their whole catalog and retag everything to see which products are turquoise. And the more detailed you get with that list, if you want to introduce a dark green and a light green and a muted green, a saturated green filter. Now you're just adding significantly more borders between those filters. And a shopper might spend a ton of time looking within the green filter, not realizing that that product they want is actually just turquoise enough to be in the turquoise filter.
And I've joked with you guys in the past too about my wife is always bothering me. Well, I'll be like, "Oh, this is yellow," and she'll be like, "That's not yellow." We'll be playing games with our daughter, and matching color games, and I'll be like, "Take the orange one." She's like, "There's no orange one," and so it's like I don't know if it's a gender thing or just a human thing where each human sees color a little bit differently, and so when it comes to trying to translate that color, it's like I'm a developer for a lot of sites. Am I the right person to be tagging these? It's certainly not the owner of the brand. They're passing that off to someone else, either a developer or someone else on staff. And is that person who is tagging it seeing colors in the same way that their customer demographic is seeing colors? And that's what I like about infinite color search. It just takes that out of the equation altogether. If I click yellow or if I click orange, it doesn't matter. I'm just clicking the color that I want. I don't have to necessarily categorize it myself or rely on someone else categorizing it themselves too.
And when you see that page of results and you realize, oh, maybe that was slightly more green than I wanted, you just adjust it a little bit on the wheel and you get an entirely new set of results. But the other thing that this solves is multicolor search, because most products, they don't fit neatly into any given category. If you have a product that has 3 different colorways within it, which if you go to Nike's site, for instance, a lot of sneakers have multiple colors. Those are even more challenging to group into these generic color filters, which is why the results are just so overwhelming these days. When you go to these sites, you filter for blue, and you're like, why is there a dark navy blue right next to a light baby blue? And why is there this product here that, yeah, it has blue, but it also has red and orange and yellow in it?
And
No,
sometimes
you're
it's
right. At,
just
at that point, you're leaning into the default sort order of the store. So if I clicked on the yellow filter tag, the default sort order could be best selling. It could be new, oldest to newest, could be newest to oldest. And so meanwhile, consequently, the product that fits the color that I want most might be buried on page 7, depending on how many products that they have too. Whereas infinite color search surfaces it right to the very top. But if you, I wanted to jump back and just ask about, I would say, what came first, the chicken or the egg, the tagging or the color wheel? Do you remember? I know it's been a while since you've done this, but or did they both just kind of happen at the same time?
So the color wheel came first because understanding the user experience was just so clear to us. If we want to have a good filter, you need to get more specific. You can't just be as generic as blue and green. But once you get more specific in the traditional filtering set, you have this really long list of color names. And now that becomes choice paralysis. People don't even know where to start there. And in our design thinking, we're always trying to minimize things. And eliminate as much text as possible. And so realizing that the way filters are working today is you're essentially you're translating color to text and then back to color. We're sort of eliminating a step and just you select the color, we show you the color. So it's a lot more intuitive.
Technically, you're translating everything into text: the color, the fit, the size, the material, the quality. Is it soft? Is it thick? It's like we're just coming up with words and with our limited vocabulary to describe basically feelings, because that's what you're buying with products, apparel a lot of times too, or like in the art example that you got. It's like I'm buying something because of how I feel when I touch it or see it. And now as a merchant, it's my responsibility to translate what I want you to feel into text. And then as a consumer, it's my job to look at this, and no one does it a great job about it. And frankly, I don't blame them, because it's really hard. And the bigger your catalog, the harder it gets to do. So you've got the idea, you've got the colorway, you got the concept. What next? Was it like, okay, now we've got to find someone to build this, or was it like we're going to try to build it ourselves? What was kind of the evolution of turning this into a? Because first it was a fully fledged product almost on the marketplace, right?
Yeah.
And then you're like, let's bring that. So at the first step before you made it a B2B product was building it for yourselves. Maybe we'll talk about that first.
Yeah. So building it for ourselves, we understood after partnering with over 30 brands that there is no universal color naming system. Some brands might call something maroon color, some might call it wine color. There's a lot of different artistic names for color, and there is no alignment there. So if you run a marketplace that aggregates other brands, you need to come up with your own color naming system. And so it started with that, and as we wanted to turn this into a B2B business, a lot had to change because we needed this to be seamless for brands, and we needed to fully automate the color tagging because we learned through firsthand experience working with a lot of brands is they're so incredibly busy. There's no way you could launch this product and expect brands to go through and take an eyedropper selector and like select all the colors within each image. It for some catalogs, it could literally take weeks to do that.
Now you nailed it, and I get offered free software all the time just because of shopper freaks. Like, oh, I want you to try my thing. You can have it for free. It's like, that's the price isn't the problem. Like, I'll happily pay for it. It's the homework you want me to do to get this rolling. And that's, I guess, what's awesome about what you guys have is like, there is no homework. The algorithm is taking care of it for you. But, but if you don't mind, so I was asking, like, this is kind of hindsight now that you're working with all these different brands, but when you were first developing it for yourself and you're like, I want this color wheel on the side of our marketplace, I want this tagging system. Can you talk to me a little bit about the pathway it took to get that developed? Did you guys do it yourself? Did Umberto come into the picture at that point? Did you work with other people? I just want to see a little bit, because I think it's interesting when you have an idea and then you want to execute it. It's like, whew, that's, whether it's for yourself or whether it's for an app for other people, it's a whole journey. And I'm just curious to learn more about it.
Yeah. So we had a very specific team for the marketplace, and we recognized right away that if we're going to make this possible, we're going to need a new set of people that are very specialized in these specific departments, specifically the automation. And so part of this transition from the marketplace is we actually did transition our team over. Um, and so there were three main engineers that we knew that we needed. We needed someone that focused on the automation side, so more of like the machine learning and data science. And then we needed someone to focus on the UI UX component of the actual color wheel and building out that user experience. And a third overall front end, back end designer that can connect all the pieces and really make this possible to integrate within the Shopify ecosystem. And so that was part of our main transition. If you want to speak,
we also had Umberto was part time before then, and then he came full on full time with us, and so we were able to create something that was significantly higher quality than the marketplace, and it's something that no single brand would ever put this much effort into the user experience design for a component like this, if it were just for their own website. But because we envision this being across, tens of thousands of different sites, it's much more economical for us to do that. And so we put a huge effort into this. Um, yeah.
Yeah, it was we had to do another fundraising round, just focusing specifically on this transition. And it, like Bridger said, it did took just over a year to build this out, but it's well worth it now.
Did you shut down the marketplace at that point when you were like, we're going to make the transition, we need to go full time and dedicate all of our attention into this product right here? That's when you were like, that's when you went into the first fundraise.
Yeah, so it came down to focus, and realizing that with a small team, you have to be able to concentrate all the resources into one thing. And by continuing to upkeep the marketplace, it can only hurt this core product, which is really has enormous potential. And so we found it best to just wind down the marketplace so that we could focus entirely on this.
Who was the most difficult to find? I'm going to guess it was the data scientist, the machine learning person. Because you guys, this is 2 years in, right? You started development 2 years ago, took it to market less than a year ago. Am I correct on the timeline?
Yeah. So our chief technology officer, Umberto, he's very connected, and he connected us through a project manager who's they've already had a 10-year relationship together and work. And so he was able to hire and put together a team for us. So it came together very quickly, and I'm happy to say that every single engineer we started with over a year ago, they're all still working here, and we're all really excited about the future of this.
I think you got in at the perfect time, because if you were starting this today, you'd make someone an offer, a machine learning offer, and then Mark Zuckerberg would come in before the ink was even dry and be like, I will give you $100 million. And you're like, Zuckerberg, you don't even know what we do.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But
it's funny to think we were really an AI company before it was cool, and then once it became the
and
trend.
you don't even flaunt it in what you do. Like that's what I love. I don't mean to like overpraise you guys. You guys know how impressed I am with the product. I think people listening are starting to realize too. It's like, no, I really do love this product. That's why I'm so excited that this is the first pitch, because I'm a firm believer in what you guys are doing. And so anyway, when you started building this out, did you run into any obstacles that you didn't necessarily expect that significantly increased the cost or the development time, which I guess is the same thing? Like what was the biggest hiccup that you ran into at the beginning?
One of the toughest decisions was figuring out how are we going to make this incredibly scalable for the Shopify ecosystem, and that every single site has their own Shopify theme. They're all styled differently. And so being able to have a plug and play solution that's compatible with every single theme without issues was the biggest challenge early on from a design standpoint. That's how we arrived at this concept of containing everything within the overlay experience. And there's also advantages that we're able to wrap our entire tech in a shadow DOM and optimize it for SEO and make it very streamlined so that it doesn't slow down the site, and it doesn't affect the core web vitals of loading other content on the site. And so we needed a way for this to be compatible with every store, versus if you were to try and drop in this wheel alongside other filtering systems within the site, then we'd have to partner with uh, Shopify's search system directly or other third-party search systems. It's just incredibly complicated and a lot of work for brands to do. And our algorithms are pretty complex. They don't necessarily fit into other types of search systems. So we really had to build out our own.
That's brilliant. At least as an MVP, you said, let's just get rid of the word integration from our vocabulary. It sounds like let's not
Yeah.
worry about having to work alongside. Not to say that that might not come in the future, but to get started and first get that search on people's merchant stores and focus on the value you're bringing. You said, let's do our own thing. Let's not worry about
And
having to.
we had to figure out early on that we do need to customize things for each brand. But our approach to that is we listen for the same feedback over and over again. and then we add a feature that's available to everyone. So for instance, there are different customizations you can make within the overlays design aesthetic that are all now settings available to the merchants. Even things
That's
like
an example.
even just the widget, for instance, when we launched this, it was the search color rainbow widget for everyone. And then we introduced the ability to choose the background color and the text color. And that helped with adoption. Then that introduced this to a lot of other stores. Then we went further and we added full customization with the widget. Anyone can upload their own image where they can design it with their own font and everything. And so we've realized that in order for brands to really feel like this belongs to them and this feels perfectly at home with their website, we need to adapt to their exact font theme. Um, we need to be able to add these available features. And so since adding them, we've sort of addressed every single major concern that brands have had since we first rolled this out. So we have a lot more customizations now.
Mhm. Yeah, we kind of, we kind of considered the future to be flexible, and we didn't necessarily want to force our own design aesthetics on these brands because we understand how particular they are about protecting their own brand. And so our goal is to maintain the proper user experience while still making it feel like a native part of their website.
So, what now are some of the top requested features? Which of those features are on the roadmap and which of those are not on the roadmap yet?
Mhm. So I think where we can see a lot of improvement is actually addressing the stores that um, don't necessarily have 1,000 plus products because this search filter system, this system is amazing for large catalog stores. For instance, we have a site called Rug Engine that has 50,000 rugs. And for a site like that, you can pinpoint any specific color and you see a perfect match. If it is a very small site, maybe they have 150 products, then there is chances that you can select a specific color on the wheel, and it might not necessarily show the exact color products. It's just impossible for them to have every possible color. They'll still show them the closest match. But what we want to improve on is better communicating sort of suggested color searches, because if a brand has maybe 30% of their products are sort of like varying shades of beige, for instance, then we need to have a bunch of suggested colors in that zone that people can have an amazing experience right away with seeing um, good matches. And so we're we have we're also working on other touch points within the site, so this becomes more of like a recommended color section, and it's not all just contained within the overlay, but there's other sections that can improve the experience.
On that first one you were talking about, that's really interesting. So, I mean, if you have 50,000 products and I choose this particular color on the color wheel, right? It's going to start with the most relevant colors. And then as I start to scroll, or not most relevant, best match colors. And then as I start to scroll down, the least match. But the problem is with smaller stores, from what I was understanding, if I click on that color, there are no best matches. It's still going to surface something, but the results aren't going to be very good. And then on the flip side of the coin, you're talking about, there's 15 shades of beige for this particular brand. Yet my color wheel is showing, I'll say
Even
90% for this particular brand that has a certain aesthetic. 90% of the colors are not relevant. And the ones that are very, very small on that color wheel.
yeah.
So how do you plan on, addressing that? You're talking about offering, what is it, predetermined or search recommendations, but what is that actually going to look like in terms of user
So
experience?
we are we're really a color data company in the sense that this wheel allows shoppers to see the exact colors people are looking for the first time ever. So even in that example of a store having 150 products, um, if someone searches a particular shade of teal, for instance, and they don't have any perfect matches, that's still informative data for the business because now they know people are looking for that color. They're missing out on the supply and demand aspect of that because people are we've shown this with businesses where there's a discrepancy in what's available in their catalog and what people are actually searching for. And so because we automate the color tagging process and extract the exact color values, we're able to actually visualize the entire product catalog in three-dimensional color space. And so that allows us to understand um, where all of the products exist. So, for instance, on some sites, they have a very strong warm to cool axis going on with the color scheme. And maybe they have very few purple colors, for instance. And so, by us understanding um, among their 10,000 products, where is the distribution of colors, we can visualize those product colors as some form of selector that suggests colors. That's what's kind of in the pipeline here.
Say that last part one more time. The last thing you said, we're going to, as a color selector, is that like underneath the wheel, or explain that a little bit more?
Yeah, kind of an extension of the wheel is being able to have these pre-chosen suggestions that are relevant to that particular store's color palette. So
I gotcha. So it's kind of like more the traditional color swatches that you might see on a website. The difference being the store didn't have to tag the products or create those. Those could be potentially auto generated based on the most popular searches or the most product results that show up, and kind of just guiding people through. Instead of giving them the whole wheel and saying the sky's the limit, we're just removing the choice overload from it and saying here's some recommended color searches based on our product selection or on popular searches and stuff like that, right?
yeah, so essentially guiding them towards where do they have the most inventory and what specific color ranges is this store doing their best job at supplying those colors. We're going to be able to showcase those colors as suggestions, kind of like a fast track to what you're looking for. Of course, you can use the wheel, you can adjust the lightness, you could dial in any specific color you actually want. But being able to immediately understand the vibe of the store and what colors they have available is also really helpful.
I gotcha. You mentioned one thing too about analytics, and you were saying I click on a color, I don't necessarily get the results that I'm looking for. That's information that you can then present to the merchants upon request. So it's basically saying when people click here, there were no product clicks, and that can kind of give them an idea of what folks are necessarily looking for, but not finding, and where they're falling off. Is that right?
That's exactly right. Yeah. So we're giving access to a much more precise understanding of color and how people go about looking for colors. And that's data that comes in real time. And it's data that could change with the moment. So, for instance, let's say there's the Oscars and there's a particular periwinkle dress that's trending, and three different women are wearing the exact same color that night. If people then go online, they go to their favorite stores and they start searching for that specific color, you would see that. You'd be able to recognize those trends in a way where you would just have no ability to do that before with the traditional um, color tagging system that everyone else uses.
What else, if you don't mind sharing, any other top requested features that you guys have taken into consideration, and or non-requested features that are just your own brilliance that you've thought of that you guys have on the roadmap that you don't mind sharing?
I think one thing that often comes up is the ability to take a photo and extract a color. Um, so that is something where we see that being helpful is being able to search well beyond the two color search that we have today. Now you can select two different colors and you can adjust the weight of those. So if you want a 90% black with a 10% green accent to that, you can do that. When it comes to doing 3+ colors, we have the algorithms to do that. It's just the user experience gets way too complicated when you try having three different color wheels of being able to select the exact colors you want. No one wants an experience that complicated, but camera-based search has the ability to extract an entire color palette, which could then be used in the search. And I think our hesitation around jumping into a feature like that now is it's one of those features that's amazing for a huge catalog store, but even less helpful when it's a really small store. If you're trying to search a 5-color palette on a store that has only 100 products, then you probably won't find too many perfect matches.
It sounds like the same problem. It's just an automated problem. Like when I'm dealing with the hierarchy of stores, that's a conversation you're going to have with the merchants. You say, how do we best divide up these products? I've walked into stores in the past where they have sub menus and then another sub menu and then another sub menu, and the navigation is horrible, only to end up on one of the sub navigation menus, and there's like one product listed. And I'm like, I think we're over navigating here. This is too difficult. And so it sounds similar, although the process of tagging is automated. It's like, well, now you're giving me 3, 4, different colors to click on. It's like probably two is enough, because if it's got that third color, it probably has the first two in there as well too. And so you can kind of scroll down
Yeah,
from there.
it's such a giant leap from the previous solution in terms of how quickly you can find the colors you're looking for, that we don't feel this huge rush to add beyond 2 colors, because this is already well ahead of other solutions. So it's in the roadmap, but we have other exciting features that we can't even reveal yet that I think brands would be way more thrilled to have.
I got one, and you can tell me to shut up if you don't want to talk about it. I just, here's my requested feature. So large catalogs, I click on the color, it does surface everything. I got the shoes, I got the sweaters. What if I just want to search for sweaters? Is there any point where you can ingest the tagging system and or collection or
Oh
product
yeah.
type or
Well,
into your search?
we actually already have that. So we have the text-based search bar at the top, so you can combine keyword queries with the color wheel. But we also have the ability to configure collections at the top. So if you have your predetermined collections in Shopify, maybe that's for men's and women's, maybe it's for a specific type of product like shoes. You can configure any collection you want at the top, and when you select those bubbles, it can filter the set alongside the wheel.
Okay, perfect. I'm a little bit out of the loop then. I'm out of date in terms of what this stuff can do.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to switch gears and talk about entrepreneurial questions, because a lot of the folks watching this are running their own SaaS or app development companies. But before I do, is there anything that you wanted to talk about with the product itself that we didn't cover so far?
I think we covered a lot. And one of the things too is just the data side is something that we collect the data now in terms of the exact colors people search. And we're always finding new ways to visualize that data. When you take 3-dimensional data and have to interpret it in a 2-dimensional canvas, there's a lot of creativity behind how you present that data that could lead to actionable, informed decisions as a business. And so one thing to know is, like, if you partner with us, if you're a Shopify store and you install this app, there's more to come in the roadmap. So the product you have today is awesome, but there's always more features that are being added.
Yeah, and like the kind of data that we're talking about is it was very focused in the sense that we know what people are searching. We can see the discrepancy between supply and demand. However, there's a lot of really exciting big picture data that gets more valuable as we grow with more clients over the years, where we could start to analyze broader trends within specific industries. So we could see, which colors that people not only are searching within sneakers in the spring, but we know which ones people are actually buying, and we can forecast. We could start to develop forecasts for predictions on what people are going to be buying in the winter within this industry. And this kind of data has never truly existed to the level of detail that we are going to be analyzing. And so that's the kind of data that's really exciting, because as we grow and collect more and start working with larger companies, it'll only become more and more informed.
That's really interesting. I would assume that it existed, but it was horrible because it all was dependent on the human input of me calling it orange and you calling it yellow. So maybe there was some data across the board of what people are
Yeah,
searching,
it's not,
but we don't
yeah.
actually know what they were truly searching.
Mhm.
And also, there are, I'm sure there's been large companies that invest heavily in finding any bit of color data they can get. What this is also doing, though, is democratizing in the sense that the small Shopify stores can also get access to this level of input.
I guess that's the beauty of apps and plugins in general. It's like we are commoditizing things that would have been insanely expensive to build or just out of reach of most people. I get a lot of clients and I come at them and say, look, I can build this to you in a few hours, but then we've got to pay for maintenance. We've got to deal with problems. We could pay $30 a month for this and never have to worry about anything because honestly, depending on the app, not all apps are created equal or supported equally. But assuming you got yourself a good app like Infinite Color Search, you could assume that you're just getting benefit. You don't have to deal with any of the behind the scenes. But on that note, my last question about the product is: I know it's there are patents associated with it. I just wanted to ask, what exactly does that protect, the patents?
Yeah, so we have a publicly published patent at this point.
I'll grab it.
Right here. There you go. Um, but so this protects the three-dimensional color ranking system, which is really the only way to accurately understand color similarity. And it also has protection over that visual user experience with the color wheel. So it's a 21 claim patent. But the thing about patents too is that protects a more broad understanding of the invention, but what the product we actually offer as a service goes well beyond that, much deeper. We have literal pitch decks that dive into specific aspects of the algorithm, and so the level of detail behind this and the nuance behind how all the different edge case colors are handled, that's all part of this. And so um, we we really do think that we're like the best in the world at what we do with color. And so we're always just trying to like push the limits with that.
I've got just a few more minutes of your time. I want to ask about the entrepreneurial journey a little bit. Give me a quick background on when you got your first beta client, when it launched public, when the app actually launched, and kind of walk me through what's happened since then.
So we got our start with the app launch, partnering with a local client of ours, Spider Surf, and they've been around for a long time. They have 3 physical retail stores, and so we got to learn a lot from these early clients. And I think what was so amazing about like the early first 10 clients or so is just seeing the variety of industries we were able to capture. Because we started this, we really built it with fashion in mind when we first launched it. And then very quickly we got into home decor. We got the photography site. We have a wallpaper company. We have a balloon business. Like any specific, a lot of like the single product category type businesses like yarns and threads do incredibly well with this. Um, and so we we have been um, really listening a lot to the early clients and refining the product. We launched it as soon as we possibly could, like before we were even ready to tackle the entire world with this. And now we're at the point where we're very happy with how the Shopify app is going, and we're now setting sights on the next big frontier, which is enterprise. And what we mean by that is having a more custom integrated solution that could work with the Nikes of the world. And so that's beyond the Shopify ecosystem. It's where they can actually license our technology, and we provide a software development kit where they can integrate it exactly how they want it. That's the next thing that we're focusing on as a business.
Is there a separation between like enterprise on Shopify and enterprise off of Shopify? Or are you talking about the same thing? Once you reach a certain level, if they've got the in-house development expertise to do the kind of customization that they're looking for, you could make it available regardless of the platform?
This works on any Shopify theme, but there are headless Shopify stores, and that's when the whole front end is completely custom, managed in VS Code or you name it. Those are also sites where they would be a part of this enterprise solution where it's more custom, because apps don't integrate with headless stores in the way they do with regular Shopify stores. But we're really setting our sights high in terms of we're already in conversation with some of the largest stores on the planet, and we want to get this on those sites, which further brings attention to the Shopify ecosystem. And I think we're at a stage in the business where there's just a lot of stores that could benefit from this, and they just don't know it exists yet.
So marketing and sales wise, is education the biggest obstacle, getting people to just pay attention and learn about it? I would imagine once they do, they're like, okay, I want to learn more. But talk to me about your marketing and sales cycle and what's working so far.
Once we get in the room with the brand, they fully understand it. It's when you have something that's innovative and very different, it can be difficult for people to wrap their heads around it right away. But once they get into the details, it changes. But we come at it from all sorts of touch points. Carson leads the brand acquisition side of things.
Yeah, I mean, it's communication is so important at these early stages. Like Bridger says, it's a newer concept, and even though it's simple, it's still not typical for what you see in e-commerce. And so there is that education side. It's we've been refining our message for years now, and I feel like we're in a pretty good place with communicating what we're providing. But at the same time, it's a lot of it is just validation with the brands that you're working with. As a new company, no matter what your product is, you're still new to them. And so for us to be able to align with some validating brands, it makes a huge difference in introducing that trust with these newer potential clients.
The
And
unique thing too about this product is it is very memorable. And so brands are starting to use this as a way to actually drive traffic to their site. And so they're integrating it into their own marketing campaigns. And so we are starting to see that snowball effect where once a brand loves this on their site, they post it on social media, their audience engages and shares it around. And every brand has 10 or 20 other brands that follow them. And so um, it's we're at a stage right now because it's new that's an advantage for the early clients is this is a competitive advantage that they could showcase and help drive traffic to their site.
I can imagine how a screen grab of it in action could make such an attractive reel or ad. You know, it's like you want to showcase your new catalog, you want to create different content, show that happening. You're like, oh wow, I've never seen. You're right, that is attention grabbing. I've never seen anything like it.
We have a
One last
partner
question.
who
Oh, go ahead.
runs an advertisement featuring the color search on their site, and they're seeing a cost per click of 1 cent, which is very strong. So yeah, it does stop the scroll in some sense.
And one thing too, and again, this is coming from a developer and merchant perspective, is that there's, like we said earlier, there's no homework for getting started, so the risk of trying it is minimal. Like, what's the worst scenario? You install it, it works, and people don't use it. They don't click the button at the bottom, or they end up using it, searching for colors, and then going back to the previous navigation system. But like I said, there's other things that I've been pitched over the years. I'm just like, that is way too much work. That is way too much homework for me, for my team, for our development house to get started. So that's hopefully is what helping you guys. Once people discover the product, it's like, what do I have to do to get rolling with this? You're like, not much. Click this button and you're good to go.
Yeah.
Um,
I recommend brands just they try it out because you can uninstall it if it doesn't work out for them. And what we see is sometimes brands will they'll install it. Maybe they're afraid of adding a colorful widget to the corner of their site. And then they realize, oh, I actually really like navigating my site this way. I don't want to make that widget muted. I want it to be vibrant. I want people to click on it. And people will then add more buttons throughout their site that link to it. So it's something you could just start with. And if as you get more comfortable with it, you could find other ways to um, direct attention towards it. I think the biggest mistake brands can make is trying it out but hiding it within their site, not having an easy access point to it because um, once you're paying for it, there's unlimited searches. So you want to get as much usage as you can out of it.
I think if I was to integrate it into a bigger site and the search bar was prominent at the top, I might just have a search by text right next to the input field and then a search by color right next to it just to get people attuned to the fact that there's two different ways to search this website. But I'm sure your clients have come up with some creative ways to get that out the door. Last question I wanted to ask you was just about the end goal for the product and potentially for the company. Um, where do you want this product to be? You mentioned marketplaces. You mentioned enterprise. Is there a possibility that this just becomes the default search on Shopify or BigCommerce or Amazon even?
Yeah, so we're going far and wide with this, and our goal as a company is right now we're disrupting traditional text-based search. We don't see this necessarily as just a better color filter. We see this as an entirely new way to navigate the site. And so we are going to continue to expand upon us as a search company, not just a color company. So you're going to find other ways to search navigate, usually with the theme of it being more visual. And so that's kind of where we see ourselves growing as a company, is we're a search technology company. But eventually we would love this to be available to as many merchants as possible. And maybe that comes in the form of direct partnerships with e-com platforms.
Well, guys, this was awesome. Thank you very much. And if you're watching this, thanks for being part of the first episode of 90-Second Pitches. I couldn't have asked for a better company to join us today. So thank you guys for coming along. Hey, again, this is a new series. So if you're watching this, let me know what you think. Are there questions that I didn't necessarily ask these guys that you want the answer to? If so, drop a comment below this video. You can also reach out to them on their website,
PPN.
hoppn.com. That's where you can find more information about the app and also the link to install it in the Shopify app store. Yeah, thanks guys. And let me know if you like this series and if there's any other companies you'd like to see pitch. And have a great day. Thanks for watching.
Awesome. Thank you,
Yeah.
Paul.
Thanks, Paul.